I'm Anita. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be making what's called a scrunchie ring. This is a pattern that I've found out of a book titled Beadwork Creates Beaded Rings. This is a book written by Campbell, and the designer of the Lucky Scrunchie ring is Hogsett. So what you need for today's tutorial are approximately 48 4mm Heishi spacer beads. You're going to need an 8mm crystal. I'm using a rondelle, or you can use a round. Actually, it's a round. You're going to be needing two 6mm rondelles, and you're going to need about 12 to 14 inches of elastic stretch cord, and you'll need one crimp tube. I'm using Beadalon crimp tubes because those are better quality. So also you're going to need a little stopper. I'm using a little a coiled thing that's great for using as a bead stopper. And we'll go ahead and get started. This particular pattern is a very easy pattern to do. You're going to be needing a couple of Big Eye needles, so go ahead and grab those. These have a really big eye. They're very thin, and they're easy to use because you're going to be bringing elastic through these beads. So I would suggest using two, and I'm using a dark elastic stretch cord. This is a 0.05mm. So once you have all of your materials, you're going to take your 12 to 14 inches of stretch cord, and I've got them so that the ends are together like this, and I'm going to clip the end where they meet with a pair of scissors. So now you're going to take one of your needles, put the elastic, both ends of the elastic, through the big eye of the needle, like that. Just enough to get the ends over the edge. So now I'm going to take the stopper, and this is a little stopper with some coils on it. You can buy this at any craft store. I'm going to fasten that on the end like that to keep my beads from falling off. So we're using approximately 48 4mm spacer Heishi beads, and you're going to split that into two groups of 24 because we're putting 24 on for the first half, and then I'll show you what's after that. So go ahead and start picking up your spacers like that, just putting them on your needle, and you're going to just slide these down like that. So continue picking these up, and I'll be showing you what the next step is. So I've got 3 of these spacer beads left to put on. Just pop those onto your needle like so. This is a very easy ring to make, and the nice thing about it, it's elastic cord, so even if that ring size is not your ring size finger, it stretches, so you can probably wear this ring on most of your fingers. So once you have the 24 spacer beads on, you're going to put on your decorative round rondelle here. Just put that on your needle. Now I'm putting on my crystal. Pull that through, and I'm using this dark elastic cord, make it a little easier for you to see what I'm doing. Just going to pull that through. If you have trouble, use your flat nose to pull that through your bead. Now I'm putting on my other spacer like that. So that's the first half of the ring. So now I'm going to put the other 24 spacers. So go ahead and continue that process, and I'll meet you back on how to close the endings. I'm coming down to my last spacer bead here. And if I didn't mention, this elastic cord is 0.05 millimeter, very thin, and I have it doubled so that makes it quite a bit stronger. So now that I have that completed, oops, my needle came off. Let me pop that back on. We're going to put on our spacer bead. Get this needle back on my elastic. So I'm going to pick up a spacer tube is actually what I'm using, and I'm using these Beadalon. So number 2 is the size we're going to be using. I only need one of those. So you're going to pass your needle through that crimp tube like that. Just pull that through. Now I'm going to grab my other open eye needle, take my stopper off, and I'm going to thread this end, because what I want to do is go back through the crimp tube from this side. So I'm just going to push that crimp tube where I can grab it, pop my needle through my crimp tube from this side, like that, then pull the other side of your thread through. So now we can pull that, leave your needles on, and you want to pull it tight enough so that there's no gap. So once you have that pulled, it's a little tricky. You want to kind of stretch that both sides of the cord around your finger like this, and grab your crimping pliers, and you want to position the crimp tube in the bottom of this channel right here, so that this point sticking out puts a fold in your crimp tube. So as you're holding it, you might need to try to stretch this a little. Grab my cord again. Try to keep it tight. At the same time, you're trying to get your crimping tool in there and position right on that crimp tube, like that. Now I'm going to squeeze to put that fold in. So there's the fold, and it feels like it's pretty tight. So now what I want to do is gently fold the crimp tube just a little to give it a little bit of roundness, and just do that very carefully. So I'm just going to grab it from the back like that. And I'm just going to squeeze just a little bit. There we go. Just enough to give it a little bit of roundness to that crimping tube. So now with the remaining thread, or the remaining elastic, I'm going to fish my needle back through some of these spacer beads, so when I cut it I have a little bit of length at the end. So just pass your needle through, about halfway. Pull that elastic through, go through a few more, about like that. and go ahead and cut this end off. Now take your other tail end of your elastic with your needle. Do the same thing to the other side. So we're going to advance through about halfway on these Heishi beads. About like that. Just pull that through. And if you want, you could always put a little dab of glue over that just to give it extra security. And there is your completed scrunchie ring. So this ended up being about, it's measuring almost a 6 on my ring mandrel, and it'll stretch, so you'll be able to wear that not just on a size 6 finger, but like this is a 9 and I can just roll it on my finger, and it's very pretty, very elegant looking. And that it didn't take but 5 minutes or so to complete. And the elastic cord I used, as I mentioned, was 0.05 millimeters. You can get this in any craft store, and I used the dark so that you could see it, but they have it in clear plastic as well. And as far as the book goes, the book is titled Beadwork Creates Beaded Rings. I will include a link to that book in the description box. If you click more, I'll put a link for the book, and I'll also put a link of where you can get some of these materials. I also sell my own jewelry, and I'll put a link to my website in that, so if you want to go explore, I made quite a few of these, so you can take a look at all the other color combinations I did. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope that you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and share it with all your friends. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I know it was a short video, but I wanted to do something that was very fun to make. So if you don't have 4mm Heishi spacers like this, you can probably substitute, I'd say try using an 8mm bead, like an 8/0 on a galvanized silver instead, because that's got a nice big hole and you'll be able to pass your needle through a couple of times. And just experiment and see what works for you. And as I mentioned, I recommend using the Beadalon crimp tubes, so that works really well for this. So thanks for joining me again. Have a wonderful day and happy beading.